In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my new chameleon here and the care and well-being for your animal. So, just to get this started, I hope you're all staying nice and safe, and I hope you're all staying at home. And overall, I hope none of you have got corona. So I'm going to introduce you to my rather mad female juvenile veiled chameleon right here. That's basically her full colours at this moment in time. I'm not going to move her anymore just to make her feel a little bit more comfortable. But this is my female veiled chameleon. Her name is Yanis. It's a Greek name. And she, I believe, is just under 5 months old. I reckon about 4 and a little bit months old. I'm going to see if this would benefit. Maybe just to climb on in a bit. In today's video, like I said, I'm just going to go through the basic care and well-being of these animals, and lighting, heating, humidity, feeding, lifespan, and yeah, I'll get started. So first I'm going to be going for lighting. Now, the primary essential lighting they will need in their cage, I'd say this is the most important lighting, because heating lighting, depending on where you live, sometimes you don't actually have to have a high wattage bulb. UVB lighting. Now, no questions asked, there's no short way or there's no shortcut. Long story short, you're gonna need it. There's a lot of people out there that think, I'll just put my cage next to the window where the sun can shine in so it can get the UVB from the sun. That only works if the animal is getting a full beam of sun. Let's say if you live in a place with a hot climate, or your animal is out for the summer and is getting the full beam of the natural sun. These guys will need a strong output of UVB, at least covering 3/4 of the cage. Mine is covering around let's think, just over 3/4 of the cage at the moment. I have a UVB 10.0 or T5 strip. That is the minimum, so 10.0 or T5. The recommended brands are Reptisun, so Zoom-Ed Reptisun and Arcadia. Arcadias are put down as percentage, so I'd say the minimum you're going to need with Arcadia is a 6% bulb. So yeah, that is with that. You can use coil bulbs depending on the age of your animal, depending on how big the cage is, because coil bulbs obviously aren't going to cover your whole tank unless you're going to have 2 or 3 of them. Now, as a baby, obviously, because they don't need as big cages, a coil bulb could do depending on the size of your cage. But let's say if you've got an adult male, which are I'd say one of the biggest chameleons you can get, you're gonna need a strip. Now, at the moment, I have a strip. She won't have a strip for long. Very soon she will have a coil bulb. But she'll have, I think, she'll probably have around 3 over the enclosure. She'll have 2 10.0s and 1 5.0. So yeah, like I say, there's no short way out of that. They're gonna need it. Now, next, another one, lighting, heating kind of goes with it. Now, these guys are gonna need, in Fahrenheit, 85 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit basking. That is around, I'd say, 32 to 36 degrees Celsius basking. So they are going to need a rather high temperature. Otherwise they won't be able to digest their food properly. And that also goes to UVB as well. They're going to need UVB to digest food. So yeah, you're going to need, I recommend ceramic heat emitters. That's what I have. Mine's a 150 watt inside this lamp here. You can't really see it. Just to let you know, this is a custom built cage. I will go through it in a bit. So yeah, you're going to need a ceramic heat emitter. So temperatures, obviously, in the warm end have to. So the ambient temperature of the cage should be around 80 degrees. I wouldn't 75. The animal can live in it, but it wouldn't live happily in it. So I recommend 80 degrees for the whole cage, as in the ambient temperature. That's another thing. You have to have a good bulb. You have to have a thermostat on the bulb. One, because if it gets too low or too high, it could burn the animal, or it could stop its digestion, could kill it. And you're also going to need that because these guys, arguably, you can house them in glass and wooden cages. I've seen them in glass and wooden cages, but all chameleons are very, very sensitive. So they have a very, I wouldn't call it very, very weak, but they have a relatively weak respiratory system. They're very sensitive. Let's say if it's in a wooden cage, they're going to need a lot of humidity in there. I'll put that in more. So yeah, like I said, I'll put that in more detail. I just had to stop the video there a second because something happened downstairs. So yeah, I'll put that back in more detail. They will, like I say, they will need a mesh cage. I can't remember where I was before. But yeah, they will need a mesh cage. Just to give them a good airflow, and obviously to make sure they don't have a breathing infection from all the moisture in the cage, and not a lot of ventilation. You can actually, as long as they have a good, like a very good ventilation, you can house them in wooden cages. I will say you can. I don't have a problem with people doing it because it works. There's a lot of people that do house them in it. I've seen a couple of veiled chameleons housed in glass enclosures. I don't really recommend glass enclosures. But these, I think, are perfect. A mesh enclosure. You can get the Reptibreeds or a Flexarian. They are the most recommended mesh enclosure, or build one yourself as long as it's nice and secure. Now, I know mine doesn't look the best, but it's secure. There's no way she can get out, and I've checked the temperatures. I check them every day since I've got her, and they're perfect. Okay, she's getting pretty fired up now, so I'm going to put her on her plant. As I've been talking about it, next I'm going to be going for humidity. Now, in these cages, you're going to need all the ambient humidity. If ambient goes with humidity, you're going to need the tank at least 50% humidity all the time. When you spray or when you put a dripper in, at that one time when you do that, the tank should be, I reckon, 60 to 80%. Obviously that won't last long, so that is just the equivalent of it raining where they live. It is, it's not required, but it is highly recommended. I'm just going to pour that in now that she's not in there, to have a dripper. Now, these, if you're a cheapskate like me, no problem with that, to some extent. If you're a slight cheapskate like me, just poke some holes in a cup. Works perfectly. As long as it doesn't pour out, as long as it's just droplets, constant droplets, fine. Because again, it's just like raining in the rainforest. They love it. They generally try and climb up the rain droplets. So yeah, humidity, that's humidity. I spray the tank once a day, and I put the drippers on 3 times a day. And the drippers, so I have a whole glass of this and all of that. So this is the Morrow worm dish. Next I'm going to be going for feeding. They are insectivores, dominantly insectivores, especially veiled chameleons are known to eat plants. So some plants are toxic. That is something to look into before you put the plants in the enclosure. This is just a plant that's in my room. This isn't going in the enclosure, but I'm pretty sure it could. So they will eat plants. So every now and then I do just give her a bowl of lettuce, and she does eat it, and it stops her from eating the plants in the enclosure. But like I say, dominantly insectivores. Her staple diet is medium locusts at the moment. She has mealworms every day. She has small crickets every other day, so she has a mixed diet. As she gets older, I'm going to be adding morio worms into her diet, but also as she gets older, I'm going to be feeding her every other day. Now, every 3 days, it can work for some people, but unlike leopard geckos, these guys do need to be fed more frequently, especially females, because even though not every single female is going to be bred, they still carry eggs. Now, that's something that I'm going to go into. There's a difference between male and females. So these guys will eat the substrate from time to time when they stick their tongue out to get the food. Some of the stuff will be either stuck to their tongue or stuck to the food. It is a risk of impaction. Either go for a repti carpet or like bark, which is hard to swallow, on the bottom, or you can actually sometimes get away with cocoa fibre because it is made safe for chameleons, but I don't use it myself. As she gets older, as she gets sexually mature, I'm going to be putting this bucket on the bottom, which when she's sexually mature, that's probably double the depth of what she will be, because she needs to dig down low to bury her eggs. Now, the eggs will not be fertilised. It's basically just like is eating a fried egg or a normal egg. It's an egg from an animal, but doesn't have a fetus inside, or does not have an embryo, whatever you call it. I hardly ever breed animals, so yeah, they will need that otherwise they'll get egg bound, which can often lead to death, and it's heartbreaking, I know. A couple of my friends have had that problem. I tell them constantly, put that in there. They don't until it died, and they don't have one to put it into anymore. So feeding, yeah, there we go. There we go. Lifespan. Now, females don't live as long as males, even though, like I say, not every single female is going to be bred. They still have that stress and taking up a lot of energy of laying eggs. That will lead them, on average, to live around 4 to 6 years. They can live longer. It's not uncommon. They can live 8 years. 10 years is stretching it, but some do live that long. Whereas males can live 10 to 15 years, sometimes 20 if you're lucky. That's very lucky. But yeah, I have a female. I used to have a male panther chameleon. He lived for 9 years. Panther chameleons don't live as long as veiled chameleons though. So yeah, that is basically today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell if you want to see more videos like this. Comment down below anything you want, like a new video. I will be sure to reply. I will be sure to make that video if you want that video, or anything else. Whatever it is, I'll like it and I'll reply. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.